So thank you for joining us today. We have had, this is I think our second investor forum in person since the pandemic, and our goal is to host these on a quarterly forum. So at GRP, our vision is to be the top mid-sized region in the US for companies to invest. And more, what we're seeing is that companies and site location consultants are utilizing ESG criteria to score communities against one another. ESG, for those of you who may not be familiar, is environmental, social, and governance issues, which include things like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and sustainability. Richmond fares very well when compared to other markets, especially when we're up against states maybe just to our south. And so that is why we have won several projects over the last several years, including the CoStar announcement, for those of you who are not familiar, that ESG was a very big part of why they selected Richmond versus Charlotte. They actually had planned to locate in the Charlotte community prior to the HB2 discriminatory bathroom bill that had occurred. So Richmond, the city of, has a perfect score on the MEI, the Municipal Equality Index score. And there are a number of our companies that are headquartered here or based here that have a perfect score on the Corporate Equality Index. And so today we are joined by some of our esteemed panelists. But first, we are here at Bank of America's newly redesigned space. And so, Victor, would you like to welcome everyone here?
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Welcome. Like Jennifer said, we just opened up this consolidated space 2 weeks ago, so the paint is still drying. Don't brush up against the walls. We're not going to pay any dry cleaning bills. But we're really excited about being in this new space. As you see, our name is on this building, but we have not owned this building in nearly 30 years. And we're just a tenant leasing it like many others in the building. But when our lease expires this month, we had the opportunity to decide, are we going to stay in downtown? Are we going to stay on Main Street? Or are we going to look at other opportunities around the region? And we're so committed to being in the central city, in the downtown financial district. It was not even a discussion, really. It was like, we're going to stay here. And so we went from 4 floors, Tim and I were talking about this in the beginning, to now 2, and bringing all of our client-facing lines of businesses together under this new modernized furniture. And we're just so excited about the investment that Bank of America has made in Richmond and to this space. And not only are we here, this is where our client-facing teammates who are with me today, several of them, Eric Morales, Austin Welder, Jonathan Myers. We have nearly 2,000 teammates in Richmond, of which 2/3 sit at Villa Park at Brook and Parham Road. And that's a massive technology and operations site for Bank of America, not just for Virginia, but for our entire enterprise. And we're growing there, growing jobs in particularly artificial intelligence. And we're investing in capital improvements in that site, which is a complex of about 4 or 5 buildings. And so we're putting a lot of capital improvement in that and expanding there. So Bank of America is very committed to this region, which you'll hear a little bit more about. But we welcome you to this space, and hopefully you get to enjoy it with us. But thank you for being here.
And thank you, Victor. And my apologies, Victor Branch is the market president for Bank of America. We also have here Sal Mancuso, who is the executive vice president and CFO for Altria Group and serves as our chair this year. And Karol Kain, who is the senior vice president and CFO for Virginia Commonwealth University. And all 3 of our esteemed panelists serve on our regional leadership circle, which is our top tier of investors. And we have had a number of discussions related to ESG and diversity, equity, and inclusion over the last year, in large part due to Sal and our discussions. And so we will be hosting a Q&A at the end of the discussion, so please hold your questions, and they will be addressed then. The first question that I have, though, is for you, Karol. And so as a large public university, VCU is at the forefront of DE&I efforts aimed at ensuring the university is serving all Virginians. How does that responsibility inform your policies and your actions?
So I should frame my conversation with all of you that I've been in higher education for over 30 years, and I've been at VCU since 2016, and the whole DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion is in our fabric, our DNA. Being in a city like Richmond, it's already diverse. Our student population is incredibly diverse, which is a pleasure for me to work in as a public institute where we get to educate the best and the brightest and students who are coming from areas of disadvantage and yet they're eager and really anxious to complete their degree. Our graduation rate, in spite of the fact that we do educate a lot of underrepresented students, we're at 6-year and beating a lot of our peers. And in our employees, when I first arrived here, I was overwhelmed by the diversity of our employees, from the cabinet to the board of visitors to the staff. There is an appreciation of diversity, equity, inclusion. We all relate to it as we define our 6-year plan and as we're working on right now. And if it's in your fabric, you will see it in your workforce, you'll see it in your student base, and you see it in the city of Richmond. That's why I think the city of Richmond is the best kept secret, because it works and it defines itself because of who they are and their appreciation and respect for DEI. So that's the employee and student population and the diversity that exists, but we also have measures placed on us by our Board of Visitors to really increase our procurement, not only for small businesses, but for women and minority-based. And we have measures that we have to live up to over a 5-year period to increase the procurement opportunities for both women and minority. We're hoping that we could get to a 5-year plan of allowing $30 million of our non-personnel business to go out to those two entities in order to increase and improve the economic value of those two women and minority-based firms.
No, Karol, I know this isn't in the questions
It's
that we
okay.
asked. But,
I don't have any planned speaking notes, so just go for it.
The recent designation that VCU received as, and I'm going to mix it up a little bit, but was it minority serve?
Yes.
What was the title?
I don't remember. We have lots of titles. So this was a title that was granted by the federal government that allows VCU to compete more with HBCUs for grant-type funding. So we'll hopefully get more Pell funding from the federal government. And we were very excited to get it. It allows us to have more opportunity to seek out other grant funding than federal as well. And I just want to say something to Victor. I'm very happy you're not moving, because we just signed a banking contract with the Bank of America. Oh, I think we're moving to Charlotte.
Well, and there's some great ties between Bank of America and VCU, because, Victor, can you tell us a little bit about the bank's commitment to VCU and your program for STEM?
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. So last spring, we, well, let me step back and tell you one of the things that came out of the civil unrest of 2020 and the George Floyd murder was we made a commitment that summer to invest $1 billion into advancing racial equality and economic opportunity for communities of color. And then in the spring, when we saw this amazing increase of tax on Asian Americans, we added another $250 million to it, so it's now $1.25 billion over 5 years. But we had already been in talks with VCU School of Engineering about creating a program to get pathways to jobs for people of color, particularly middle schools, and get them on track to the exposure to the fields of STEM. And when the additional resources came to the table, it just accelerated that opportunity to support VCU's outreach effort to Richmond Public Schools. And what came from those discussions is an initiative called Pathways to Jobs in the fields of data science and in engineering. And I'm so excited about that commitment in that partnership, because we're committing $1 million to the initiative, and it's going to work to get students in Richmond Public Schools, middle schools, ready for fields in engineering, or ready to when they graduate, they can come to the School of Engineering and have the prerequisites to get through that rigorous field. And when they graduate, Bank of America, you heard me with my opening remarks, will have jobs waiting for them at our technology site, where we're expanding, particularly in the areas of artificial intelligence, jobs in that area. In addition to the $1 million, what's so unique about this partnership is that VCU School of Engineering, has this mentoring initiative and component where professors, students, and now Bank of America technologists are mentoring in 3 Richmond public schools, middle schools, to get these kids exposed to people in the field. And the old expression is, you can't be what you can't see. So they're going to see some real human beings working in technology, and how did they get there, and what are the things you need to do to be prepared when you graduate from high school, to go through college to get these jobs. So we see this as a game changer, and the magic is where the mentoring and the mentorship takes place with the entities of VCU and Richmond Public Schools and Bank of America all working with these. So it's an extraordinary partnership, and it's a model. I'm so proud of Richmond that Bank of America is trying to replicate with other universities and other communities around the country, and we're showing them the way. It's the Virginia thing, right? It's the Richmond thing. I'm so proud of. But yeah.
So so the 2 nicest facilities we have on the campus is the School of Business and the School of Engineering. Their facilities are the newest and the best, and they're really showcases for us. But can you imagine the synergy that's going on at VCU with local corporations and the president's directive that most students will get some form of an intern program before they graduate? And we're starting a new program as we get out of the pandemic and changing really how we educate our students, recognizing we're not going back to the way it was, to allow students to get certificates as well. So we're offering a certificate in basic business fundamentals, a certificate in computer skills. So those are the things that we're trying to lay out to our students, so when they graduate, they're more prepared to enter the workforce.
Awesome. That's fantastic, Karol. Sal, as the chair of the GRP board, you have championed ESG as a focus for our organization. As a top executive at Altria, why is ESG important to you, as well as a recruitment practice?
Yeah, Altria being a public company, and for those of you who might work for companies that are publicly traded, ESG is a fast and oncoming train. They're much further ahead of us in Europe and other markets, but in the U.S. market, it is really becoming an expectation of not only the equity investors, but the fixed income investors, that you don't just deliver results, but you focus on how you deliver those results. So, we've done a lot of work engaging with stakeholders in terms of ESG, and they've told us that the 2 top issues for us are tobacco harm reduction and youth access, right? So if you look at our long-term vision, it's to responsibly lead adult smokers to a smoke-free future. So how do you explain the risk continuum of tobacco, that the risk is in combustion, not nicotine. Nicotine, the risk is addiction and initiation, but as far as the folks that are in the category, if they can move from combustion to non-combustion, the risk of the product goes way down. And we were the only tobacco company to support FDA regulations, so you had an independent body, science-based, that would inform the consumers on relative risk of tobacco products, and at the same time consider initiation, that primarily being youth access. But we also focus on the environmental. We've laid out environmental goals and social. So as an example, for Altria, we've been on an ID&E journey. We've set aspirations. So our aspirations for our most senior executives are gender parity and at least 30% people of color. That's our aspiration. We've made significant progress. 24% of our executives are people of color, but we're not there yet. We've also committed funds to equitable economic development. We are focused on equitable harm reduction, making sure that, people of all backgrounds and of all, that those consumers have access to reduced harm products that are affordable to them, that they're getting the information, and it's not just affluent consumers that understand harm reduction. So these are things we're focused on. When I became chair of GRP, and for those of you, I'm sure many of you know, it's a rotating position. So I serve a year. And I turned to Jennifer, I said, hey, I don't want to just be a caretaker. What difference can I make in this role? And we had a lot of conversation about how can we at GRP embrace ESG as an advantage for Richmond. Richmond has a very complex history that is known by people much smarter than me and who've been in the Richmond area a lot longer than me. But there's a lot to Richmond, and Karol and Victor talked about it, beginning with the diversity of our workforce and things like that. And to be honest with you, the progress we've made in marketing Richmond around ESG really goes to Jennifer and her team, not to me. All I did was kind of maybe lay out a focus for us, but Jennifer and her team have been all over it. I think we've made tremendous progress. All credit to the GRP team. But I'm excited. I rotate off this month, but I'm really proud of what this team has done over the last year.
Thank you. Thank you. And we've taken a look at things like our aspirational goals for our team, for our board in the last year as well. But also, as a key advantage for Richmond and how we can compete against other communities, right? We are much more diverse than the U.S. average. So I know that the Chamber had taken the inner city visit to Charlotte last fall, and we pulled the data and the research for the Chamber for that visit. And Victor, I can't remember the exact percentage, but the U.S. average for non-white population is something like 30%, somewhere in there. Charlotte was at maybe 35%, which was impressive, right? Richmond's 39%, right? So we are very, very diverse. And as companies are creating these goals, right, to hire a diverse workforce, what we can offer is that we have a very diverse workforce here. We have fantastic universities and community colleges, including HBCUs and minority serving institutions, I believe might be the designation. And so that is a great way. And we have companies that are here that are doing great things in ESG overall, but also from a sustainability standpoint. Dominion's goal is to be the most sustainable energy company in America. And let me tell you, that is a key reason why there is a big old announcement very, very soon. Pay attention. But it is becoming a very big part of why companies are wanting to invest in our community. So, all right, Victor, as a major financial institution, the bank is in a unique position as a gatekeeper of economic opportunity. So how is the company working to leverage that position to increase opportunities for minorities?
Absolutely. You heard me mention the $1.25 billion commitment that we announced in 2020. But prior to that, Bank of America had a robust and dynamic and growing ESG strategy, particularly around corporate philanthropy. And we were giving back over $250 million a year before we layered on top that $1.25 billion commitment. And now it would tell you that banks are only going to do as well as its local economy is doing. And when you've got a robust, dynamic, growing economy, then your banks are going to reap benefit from that. I mean, it's no mystery. It's direct correlation. And the more we can get everybody an opportunity, an economic opportunity for success, the more it's going to reward banks. So it makes perfect sense that banks have an ESG strategy, because doing good means we will do well. It's as simple as that. And banks that don't get that are missing the boat, and they will catch on before long, because they will get left behind. And we're at Bank of America really invested in ensuring those opportunities are there for all of our citizens. And I can name example after example, and in your seats you have a sheet that shows you the Richmond impact of what we've done over the last 5 years. From grants, we're almost at 7 million. You can see at the bottom left there, we have volunteered nearly 100,000 hours. These teammates that are here with me today, and the other nearly 2,000 of us in Richmond, are committed to volunteerism and being a part of our community and bringing our hands and our hearts to the opportunity. And we incent and reward our teammates with 2 hours off a week or 8 hours a month, a day off to volunteer. But that's just the baseline. Our teammates go way above that. They sit on boards. They bring their intellectual capital. So they got all three of the T's engaged in the time, the talent, and their own treasure. And when they make a donation to an organization, we will match it from as little as $25 to as much as $5,000. So if Eric wants to give to his alma mater, University of Richmond, $5,000, and he says, Bank of America, will you match this? Then they get a total of 10. And we have teammates who, as you can see in that total there, who are very engaged in the matching gift program. We have the volunteer matching gift program. If you exceed more than 50 hours to one particular nonprofit, we will give that nonprofit $500 in that employee's name. And then they give 100 hours, you get the math. So that is part of our whole philanthropic ESG strategy. And what we've done is been very strategic, as I know Altria is, because I know the team that works on their corporate philanthropy, is we can't be all things to all people. So we focus on 4 critical areas: jobs, housing, health, which is a new one brought out by what we learned from what COVID does, and small business. And those are the areas that we want to align with, and that's why we gave $1 million to VCU, Pathways to Jobs in the STEM fields, in particular data science. And we gave, in addition to VCU, their sister university in the city, Virginia Union University, we gave $1 million to at the end of 2021 for Pathways to Jobs in the financial services industry. And hopefully you saw yesterday's op-ed in the editorial page where Dr. Lucas and I co-authored an editorial on what institutions should lead on local initiatives, talking about how Virginia Union makes a difference in their communities that they serve, the students that they serve, and how that $1 million is going to help just have this multiplier effect throughout the region, and financial literacy and the trust that Virginia Union students already have built in with the communities we want to impact. So we're trying to be very strategic about it. And we don't just want to throw dollars at something and hope it sticks and hope it works. We bring our whole selves to these opportunities and really, really roll up our sleeves and get engaged in it. Because the magic happens when you got the partners who are all invested in it, working in the same direction and towards the same goals and objectives. It can't just be money thrown at a problem. And we've learned that the hard way and seen no to little impact. And now we're starting to see move the needle and measure and do, wash, rinse, and repeat. And that's how we're going about our ESG strategy, is not just throw money at it, but bring your whole self to the opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you, Victor. We've spoken a lot about DEI, right? You've just talked a little bit about governance, right? We hinted on sustainability a little bit, but Victor, I know that the bank achieved carbon neutrality and moved to 100% renewable energy ahead of schedule. So what else is the company doing to progress as a steward of the environment?
Well, environmental focus and sustainability is critically important to Bank of America, and particularly to our CEO, Brian Moynihan, who happened to be with us here in Richmond on Monday. We were so excited to host him, to see our cool new space and meet some of our clients and talk to our teammates. But he was in Davos with the World Economic Forum 2 weeks ago, talking about environmental sustainability and Bank of America's commitment to that. Austin and Eric are working with clients to help them get to net zero and the financing component of that, so that we are playing an instrumental role in helping companies reduce their carbon imprint. And we, as well, as you just referenced, we did ours ahead of goal, getting to the carbon neutrality. And we have a $1.5 trillion sustainable finance commitment to support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. $1.5 trillion. I think that's real money, Karol. Even I know you deal with a lot of money, but that's a significant impact that we're trying to lead and help make this environment as safe and clean as it can possibly be for all of our enjoyments, particularly for our kids and our future grandkids. And not only are we working on the financing side with our clients, and we're also, in the last year or two, have given over $20 million to environmental organizations that we're making sure we have clean water, clean air. And locally, James Rivers Association is one of our favorite environmental organizations. But some of the initiatives at the Science Museum, some of the initiatives at Lewis Ginter Botanical Gardens, and what they're doing, we are supporting with our local dollars. So our commitment to the environment, and not only from our carbon footprint, but from the clients that we work with, and helping them get to that place, and just being in the middle of all of the great work that is being focused upon, is where Bank of America wants to play a leading role. And when you make a public goal of $1.5 trillion of sustainable finance, you gotta show up, and you gotta be you really putting yourself out there, and we are measuring it, and we're showing where it's making a difference and having an impact.
Fantastic. Now, Sal, Altria has a public environmental protection action plan with measurable goals on the website. How is the company progressing toward those goals?
We're actually ahead of schedule on that. We have a goal of 100% renewable energy. We just closed end of last year, I believe it was the end of last year, beginning of this year, financing the construction of a wind farm in Texas. We think that's going to significantly accelerate our ability for 100% renewable energy. We've got 55% reduction of emissions, tier 1 and 2, and then also tier 3. We're focused on our supply chain. You know, we have agricultural supply chain, so we're working with the growers on sustainability efforts, labor practices, things like that. We audit 100% of those growers. We train them. We help them implement good farming practices, things like that. We partner with local companies like WestRock to have shared sustainability goals because we understand our products have an impact on the environment. So how do we reduce that impact as well? So it's the E, the S, and the G, and sustainability is an important part of it. We've got, you know, our chief sustainability officer. She's a direct report to our CEO. She's involved in all of our strategic conversations and decisions because it can't be a separate effort. As Victor said, it's got to be kind of, and Karol said the same thing, it's got to be part of your DNA. It's got to be part of your strategies. It can't be a strategy plus. So you just got to embed it in everything. And so we're making significant progress. We're really excited about being able to achieve those goals early.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, Karol, how does VCU incorporate alumni and community voices in its DE&I efforts? And what has been successful in fulfilling the wishes of a diverse group of stakeholders?
Well, I read that question a while ago. So the alumni is diverse because our student population is diverse. So we already have the makeup of diversity and equity and exclusion. So all their community outreach really has D&I in the forefront. Our community engagement, our recruitment to students, we are trying to increase our out-of-state student population. Why? Because they pay more than our in-state students, and we want to be more competitive with some of our peer institutions in the state of Virginia. And we're using our alum to reach out to our students who might be interested in coming to VC to talk about who we are, what we represent, what our true mission is as a public institution, and encourage them to increase the enrollment for out-of-state. And plus there's events all the time reaching out to our alum. And this is what they want and they expect. So I need to shape it. It's not like we're doing something new. It's really who we are as an institution. So we're not creating programs. We're not hiring diversity officers. We have it. So it exists in the network and the fabric of VCU. So all of the things that I think that you want me to reach out to is already existing in how we practice, how we communicate, and how we reach out not only to our alumni, but our donors and our faculty and staff and students. So it's happening on a daily basis. And unless you go someplace else, you can't appreciate how different Richmond is in this category. Because it's real. It's no secret. It's not something that you're going to develop because it's already in existence. It's happening, it's working, and it's very exciting, quite frankly, to be a part of it. You know, I have great student ambassadors that work for me, and you know, they're just amazing what they want to do, where they want to go, and where they came from, and their interaction among themselves. So I get the pleasure of working with a population of people that I think is going to shape the world because you can't be better unless you have shared values and shared communication. So, I mean, I don't want to just, and I worked at 2 other public institutions, and quite frankly, we spent a lot of time talking about this issue of DEI, and it was hard. VCU in the city of Richmond is not hard or difficult because it's already happening.
And Jennifer, I just want to piggyback on what Karol said there. And when Bank of America was looking at its expansion of our technology site here in Richmond, and one of the main factors is because of VCU. And I don't know if you know that. And what VCU does for this community, it does model the DE and I, and it lives it. And as we were assessing across the country, where will we grow jobs of the future, that, you know, an old geezer like me would never understand, but my daughters and my future grandchildren will be probably, when they retire, those are the jobs that will be out there. It's an organization like VCU that made this an attractive community to grow those jobs in and invest those jobs in. And that $1 million pathways is one component of it, but we also have a partnership with the School of Engineering with our technologists, not just based here in Richmond, but in New York, in Charlotte, and in Dallas, where they have tiger teams of professors and students in the School of Engineering, led by Dean Boyan and her team, that are working on real life initiatives that will create products and programs that we haven't even thought of. But the School of Engineering and VCU and the diversity of that program was so attractive to Bank of America because it fits our value systems. It is a real live example of a company like us looking at an institution like VCU and seeing the value proposition that they offer. And we started that ahead of the $1 million commitment to get future pipeline of workers, but what they are working with now. I'm so excited and so proud of that partnership.
So can you imagine, in today's great climate of change, what's happening for us at VCU? More students want to come to VCU because of our diversity. More students want to come to VCU because it's urban. It's, no offense, it's more exciting than Virginia Tech. I had to throw that at you. His children go to Virginia Tech.
Three graduates.
No, I love Virginia Tech. I just thought I'd needle him a little bit. And our faculty are staying, because faculty are, you know, you can get recruited to the best, but faculty are choosing to come here because of the diversity that VCU showcase. So it's really kind of nice to see that we're not having, you know, losing faculty is a big issue in higher education, but we're getting faculty who want to come to work for us because of our mission.
And look, you know, when you have an aspiration to have a more diverse workforce, it's not hard to figure out you need to recruit diversity into your company, right? You got to bring talent in, but you want to bring in diverse talent. So we recruit. You know, our CEO is a VCU graduate, so it's not hard to have a relationship with VCU, but we recruit from VCU, and I will say it's one of the strongest feeders of talent, diverse talent especially, into Altria and other companies. We do internships, we do co-ops, we recruit for finance, engineering, marketing. You know, it's a great partner to have. So it's definitely something that Jennifer could hang on to when she's marketing the Greater Richmond area, for sure.
And this is becoming a hour of VCU, but the other factor I want to add, Karol, you don't mind at all, do you? We can't overlook, I talk about the engineering school, the School of Art.
I wanted to add to that.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
And so the School of Art, that creative component, combined with that left brain, right brain engineering component, is what artificial intelligence jobs, that's the best soup you can make for these artificial intelligence jobs. And so these students that will go through this Pathways program will not only get engineering rigor, but they will also be required to have the arts in that, to tap into that creative, because that's the stimulus and the stimulant that will provide these future jobs. And we've got the best art school in the country. So
So we're ranked fairly high among our peers, and we have a very old building, 1990s, and we just got $181 million from the state to build an amazing arts and innovation center on the corner of Broad and Belvedere, which it's neglected, that section. But I believe once you develop this new facility that's going to showcase our highest ranking school at VCU, it's going to improve that whole Broad Street that brings us down to our medical center. We have a hospital and we have 5 health science programs, which is very rare in higher education. So not only do you have several schools of education, not just VCU, but we have a healthcare system that's associated with the university with 5 premier health sciences: medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, nursing, and health profession. So I think that working in line with the city, for those that have driven down Broad, it can be an eyesore. I think you're going to see it all get lifted with the synergy that happens between VCU and the city of Richmond, not only in helping with the Richmond Public School students, but with the development of many big areas in the city.
Please help me thank our panelists today. Thank you.